The moment of awakening. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room and something shifts instantly? The atmosphere tightens, voices adjust, eyes follow without permission, and without a single word being spoken, there is already a line that no one dares to cross. Now look at the opposite side of that same reality. There are people who walk into that exact same room and nothing happens. No shift, no awareness, no weight. They speak, and they are interrupted. They explain, and they are questioned. They try, and they are overlooked. This is where most people deceive themselves because they believe respect is something that comes from effort, from being good, from proving value over time. But the world does not operate on patience. It operates on perception. Immediate, instinctive, unforgiving perception. It is not about strength. It is not about money. It is not even about intelligence. There is something far more decisive, something that acts before logic has time to interfere. It is the image you project before you even realize you are being observed. Right now, as you listen to this, you are communicating something to everyone around you. Through your posture, through the way you look at people, through how quickly you respond, through how much you explain, through what you tolerate. And here is the part that most people are not ready to accept. You are training people how to treat you. Every hesitation teaches uncertainty. Every unnecessary explanation teaches doubt. Every time you accept what should not be accepted, you silently give permission for it to happen again. And once that pattern is established, it becomes your identity in the eyes of others. People do not sit down and analyze your character in depth. They do not investigate your intentions or your history. They react. Instantly, automatically, based on signals that you often do not even realize you are sending. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see, but few can truly understand. This means something most people ignore. You are not respected for who you are in your mind. You are respected for what people perceive you to be in the moment they encounter you. And perception is not built through words, it is built through presence. This is why someone with less knowledge, less experience, and less value can command more respect than someone who is objectively more capable. Because one understands how to shape perception, and the other waits to be recognized. So here is the truth that changes everything. If you are being disrespected, it is not an accident. It is not bad luck. It is not simply the fault of other people. It is a reflection of patterns that have been repeated, reinforced, and silently accepted. That truth may be uncomfortable, but it is also your greatest advantage. Because if something can be built, it can be rebuilt. If a pattern was created, it can be broken and replaced with something far more powerful. And this is where your awareness begins to shift. Because from this moment forward, you are no longer someone waiting to be respected. You are someone who understands how respect is triggered. What you are about to learn is not motivation. It is not empty advice. It is a set of principles that operate beneath the surface of human behavior. Principles that shape how people see you before you even speak. You are about to understand how to construct an image that does not ask for respect, does not chase validation, and does not depend on approval. An image that imposes itself quietly, consistently, and undeniably. Because once you control what you project, you control how the world responds. And once that happens, something changes that cannot be reversed. The same people who once overlooked you will begin to measure their words. The same situations that once diminished you will begin to bend around your presence. But for that to happen, you must first see clearly what has been invisible to you until now. And that brings us to the first mistake that almost everyone makes without realizing it. The invisible mistake. How you are training people to disrespect you. Most people spend years trying to fix how others treat them without ever questioning the silent patterns that created that treatment in the first place. They blame personalities, environments, bad luck, or even envy. But the truth is more precise and far less comfortable. Disrespect is rarely random. It is learned behavior. And more often than not, it is learned from you. Every interaction you have is a form of conditioning. Not just for you, but for the people around you. You are constantly teaching others what is acceptable, what is negotiable, and what carries no consequence. And the most dangerous part is that this teaching does not happen through grand gestures. It happens through small, almost invisible behaviors repeated over time. Think about how often you explain yourself when it was never necessary. How often you justify decisions that required no approval. How often you soften your tone to avoid discomfort, or rush to respond so you do not seem rude, or laugh at something that should have been addressed with silence. Each one of these moments seems insignificant on its own, but together they form a pattern. And patterns create perception. When you over-explain, you signal uncertainty. When you seek validation, you signal dependence. When you tolerate what should not be tolerated, you signal weakness and boundaries. And once these signals are repeated enough times, they stop being seen as moments. They become who you are in the eyes of others. This is why someone can disrespect you without hesitation, while showing restraint and respect towards someone else in the same situation. It is not always about who is right or wrong. It is about who has established a clear standard of how they will be treated. Most people think respect is something that should be given by default. But in reality, respect is a response to clarity. Clarity in behavior, clarity in presence, clarity in limits. If your signals are inconsistent, your treatment will be inconsistent. If your signals are weak, your treatment will reflect that weakness. Marco Aurelio wrote in Meditações Livro 2, Paragrapho 1, that you will meet people who are intrusive, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsociable. But he did not teach avoidance. He taught understanding, because these traits are not controlled by you. What is controlled is how you position yourself in relation to them. If you enter the world without defined boundaries, without controlled reactions, and without awareness of what you are projecting, you become easy to test. And once people test you and find no resistance, they do not stop. They adjust their behavior downward, step by step, until respect disappears completely. The mistake is not that people test you. That is human nature. The mistake is allowing those tests to pass without consequence. And consequence does not mean aggression. It does not mean confrontation at every moment. It means something far more powerful. It means consistency. It means knowing when to remain silent, when to disengage, when to correct, and most importantly, when to not explain. Because every time you feel the need to explain yourself excessively, you are no longer positioning yourself as someone who defines reality. You are positioning yourself as someone who needs to be accepted within it. And that shift is everything. The world does not analyze your intentions deeply enough to reward them. It reacts to the signals you repeat. And if those signals say that your time is negotiable, your attention is easily given, and your standards are flexible, then your value will be treated the same way. So the question is not why people disrespect you. The question is, what have you been showing them, consistently, that made that behavior seem acceptable? Once you see this clearly, something changes. You stop focusing on controlling others, and you start controlling what actually shapes their behavior toward you. Because the moment you change the signals, you change the response. And that leads to a deeper understanding, one that most people never reach. People do not respect what they can easily predict and control. The unwritten law of power. People respect what they cannot dominate. There is a silent law operating in every environment you enter, whether you recognize it or not. It is not written in rules, and no one explains it openly, yet it governs how people position themselves around you. People naturally test what they can control, and they instinctively respect what resists being controlled. This is where most individuals lose their authority without realizing it. They become predictable. Not in a stable, reliable way, but in a way that makes their reactions easy to anticipate, their boundaries easy to cross, and their presence easy to manage. And once someone becomes manageable, they lose weight in the eyes of others. Predictability, when it reveals your limits too clearly, becomes a weakness. If people know exactly how you will react in every situation, they no longer feel the need to respect you. They feel safe testing you, interrupting you, dismissing you, because they already know the outcome. They know you will tolerate it. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this dynamic deeply when he described that it is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. This idea has been misunderstood for centuries. It does not mean becoming aggressive or hostile. It means creating a presence that cannot be easily challenged without consequence. It means introducing a level of uncertainty that prevents others from becoming too comfortable and crossing your limits. This is what can be called controlled unpredictability. Not chaos, not inconsistency, but a refusal to be fully mapped by others. When your reactions are not easily calculated, when your boundaries are not casually tested without response, people begin to adjust. They become more cautious, more aware, more respectful. Think about individuals you have encountered who carry this presence. They do not need to raise their voice. They do not need to explain themselves repeatedly. There is something about them that makes others pause before speaking, reconsider before acting. That pause is not fear in its crude form. It is recognition of consequence, and consequence is the foundation of respect. When there is no perceived consequence, there is no reason for restraint. When there is no restraint, disrespect grows naturally. Not because people are inherently malicious, but because they follow the path of least resistance. If you are always available, always agreeable, always explaining, always accommodating, you remove all friction from how people interact with you. And when there is no friction, there is no reason for them to adjust their behavior. But when your presence introduces a level of resistance, not through force, but through clarity and control, something shifts. People begin to measure their words more carefully. They begin to observe you more closely. They begin to think before acting. This is not about intimidation. It is about positioning. Positioning yourself as someone who cannot be easily dominated, easily dismissed, or easily predicted changes the dynamic of every interaction you have. It moves you from being reactive to being defining. Seneca wrote in Cartas a Lucilio Carta 13 that the greatest power is to be master of oneself. This mastery creates something that others can feel even if they cannot explain it. It creates a boundary that is not loudly declared, but quietly enforced. And that is where real authority begins. Because when you are no longer easy to control, you are no longer easy to disrespect. This realization leads to something even more subtle and powerful. If perception defines how people treat you, then the way you communicate without speaking becomes your greatest tool. The power of silent image: communicate without asking for permission. Before you say a single word, you have already spoken. Your presence enters the room before your voice does, and people begin forming conclusions before you even realize they are observing you. This is where the strongest individuals separate themselves from the rest. They do not rely on words to establish authority. They build an image that speaks for them, consistently and without effort. Most people try to gain respect through explanation. They talk more, justify more, try to be understood. But the more they speak, the more they reveal uncertainty, because words, when used excessively, often signal a need to convince. And the need to convince places you in a lower position. It suggests that your authority depends on acceptance. True presence does not seek acceptance. It establishes itself. This is why silence becomes one of the most underestimated tools of power. Not the silence of hesitation, but the silence of control. The kind of silence that observes, that chooses when to respond, that does not rush to fill every gap in conversation. When you do not feel the need to speak immediately, you shift the dynamic. You create space. And in that space, people begin to pay attention. Your posture, your gaze, your timing, these are not details. They are signals. The way you hold eye contact without aggression, the way you take a moment before answering, the way you remain composed when others expect a reaction, all of this communicates something deeper than words ever could. It communicates certainty, and certainty does not ask for validation. Most individuals give away their power through urgency. They respond too quickly, they react too easily, they explain too much. In doing so, they reveal that they are trying to maintain control rather than already having it. But someone who is grounded in their own presence does not rush. They understand that time itself is a form of positioning. When you slow down your responses, when you choose your words with precision, when you allow silence to exist without discomfort, you begin to alter how people perceive you. They start to listen more carefully. They become more deliberate in how they approach you. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence required it. Epictetus taught in Enchiridion Capitulo 33 that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen more than we speak. This is not simply advice for humility. It is a principle of control. The one who observes more than they reveal gains an advantage that others cannot easily detect. Because when you speak less, each word carries more weight. There is also something else happening beneath the surface. When you are comfortable with silence, you show that you are not dependent on external approval to sustain your presence. You are not trying to fill space to be accepted. You are allowing your presence to define the space itself. And people feel that, even if they cannot explain it. This is why those who talk the most are often taken the least seriously. They are trying to prove, and those who are respected rarely feel the need to prove anything. Their image is already doing the work. So the question becomes clear. What are you communicating before you speak? What are people reading in your posture, in your timing, in your silence? Because whether you intend it or not, you are always communicating something. And once you understand this, you begin to see that presence is not something you turn on and off. It is something you build, refine, and carry into every interaction. This leads to a deeper layer of power, one that most people resist at first. The idea that your value increases not when you give more, but when you control access to yourself. The strategy of scarcity. When your presence becomes value. Most people believe that being available makes them valuable. They respond quickly, they accept every invitation, they make themselves easy to reach, easy to access, easy to use, and without realizing it, they reduce their own weight in every interaction. Because what is always available loses significance. Value is not created by how much you give. It is created by how much access you control. When your time is constantly open, when your attention is easily obtained, when your presence is predictable and immediate, people stop seeing it as something to respect. They begin to expect it. And once something becomes expected, it is no longer appreciated. It is consumed. This is why individuals who are always present often feel overlooked. Not because they lack value, but because they have made that value too accessible. Scarcity changes perception. Not artificial distance, not arrogance, but deliberate control. Knowing when to be present and when to withdraw. Knowing when to respond and when to let silence hold its place. Knowing that not every situation deserves your immediate attention. When you stop reacting instantly, something subtle begins to happen. People start to wait. They start to consider your response before it even arrives. They begin to feel that your time is not easily obtained. And in that shift, respect begins to grow. Because respect follows value, and value follows limitation. If everyone can reach you at any moment, your presence carries no distinction. But when access to you becomes selective, your presence gains weight. It becomes something that is noticed, something that is anticipated. This is not about playing games. It is about understanding a fundamental truth of human behavior. People assign value based on effort and rarity. The more easily something is obtained, the less it is protected. The more effort it requires, the more it is respected. This applies directly to your time, your energy, your attention. Seneca wrote in Cartas a Lucilio Carta 1 that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. And one of the greatest ways time is wasted is by giving it to situations and people that do not recognize its value. When you give your time without discernment, you teach others that it is not something to be respected. When you respond immediately to everything, you teach others that your attention is always available. And when your attention is always available, it loses its power. But when you begin to choose deliberately where your presence goes, everything changes. You no longer react out of habit. You respond with intention, and intention creates authority. This does not mean ignoring people or withdrawing completely. It means creating a standard, a quiet, consistent standard that defines how and when you engage. A standard that is not explained repeatedly, but demonstrated through your behavior. When people see that you are not easily pulled into every situation, they begin to approach you differently. They begin to respect your boundaries without you having to declare them constantly. because your actions have already made them clear. This is where many fail. They try to set boundaries through words, but continue to violate those boundaries through their behavior. And behavior always overrides words. So the question becomes direct. Are you making your presence too easy to access? Are you responding out of habit instead of intention? Are you giving your time to avoid discomfort rather than to create value? Because every time you do, you lower the perceived cost of your presence. And when the cost is low, respect follows the same direction. But when you begin to raise that cost, not through distance but through discipline, your presence transforms. It becomes something that cannot be taken lightly. And this leads to the next level of control, one that determines everything in moments of pressure. Because it is easy to appear composed when nothing is being tested. The real question is what happens when you are provoked. Emotional control, the true test of power. Anyone can appear composed when everything is calm. Anyone can maintain a controlled image when there is no pressure, no challenge, no tension. But power is never revealed in comfort. It is revealed in moments of provocation. Watch closely what happens when someone is contradicted, ignored, disrespected, or challenged in front of others. This is where most people lose everything they tried to build. Their tone shifts, their posture tightens, their words accelerate, and suddenly, the control they believed they had disappears. Not because they are weak, but because they are reactive. And reactivity is one of the clearest signals of vulnerability. When someone can control your emotional state, they control your behavior. And when they control your behavior, they define your position. This is why emotional discipline is not just a personal virtue. It is a strategic necessity. Most people misunderstand control. They believe it means suppressing emotion or pretending not to feel. That is not control. That is denial. True control is awareness without surrender. It is feeling the impulse, recognizing it, and choosing not to act on it blindly. There is a moment always between what happens to you and how you respond. Most people never develop the ability to see that moment. They collapse into reaction. But those who understand power expand that moment. They create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, they choose. This is what separates those who are respected from those who are tested repeatedly. Because when you do not react impulsively, you become difficult to read, difficult to provoke, difficult to manipulate. Epictetus taught in Enchiridion Capitulo 5 that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. This principle, when applied in real life, changes everything, because it means that what others say or do does not have inherent power over you. The power comes from how quickly you surrender control of your response. When someone disrespects you and you react immediately, raising your voice, defending yourself excessively, or trying to correct them emotionally, you reveal something. You reveal that they have access to your internal state. And once someone knows they can reach you emotionally, they hold influence over you. But when you remain composed, when your tone stays controlled, when your response is measured or even withheld, something shifts. The person who attempted to provoke you loses their position. The dynamic changes, because they expected a reaction, and instead, they faced control. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditações, Livro 6, Paragrapho 30, that the best revenge is to not be like the one who performed the injury. This is not passive advice. It is strategic discipline. It is the refusal to descend into the same level of emotional instability that others use to test you. Control is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is subtle, precise, and often unnoticed in the moment. But its impact is immediate. When you control your emotions, you control the pace of the interaction. You control the tone. You control the outcome. And most importantly, you control how others perceive you under pressure. Because anyone can appear strong when nothing is at stake, but when you remain grounded in moments where others lose themselves, you establish something far more powerful than words. You establish dominance through stability. And stability cannot be easily challenged. So the question becomes unavoidable. How often are you giving away your power through reaction? How often are you allowing others to dictate your state of mind through their behavior? Because every time you react without control, you reinforce a pattern where others learn that you can be moved, influenced, destabilized, But when you begin to hold your ground internally, everything outside of you begins to adjust. And that is where true repositioning begins. Not in what you say, but in what you consistently demonstrate. Repositioning. How to rebuild your image starting today. At this point, you already understand something most people never realize. Respect is not negotiated. It is not requested. It is established through what you consistently demonstrate. And if your current image has been built on patterns that allow disrespect, then it must be rebuilt with precision. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing everything that weakens how you are perceived and reinforcing everything that communicates control, clarity, and value. The first shift is elimination. Before adding new behaviors, you must remove the ones that are damaging your position. The unnecessary explanations, the immediate responses, the tolerance for what should be corrected, the need to be understood in every situation. These habits are not harmless. They are signals. And as long as they remain, your image remains inconsistent. You cannot build authority on top of contradiction. Every time you say you value your time but give it away without thought, you weaken your own standard. Every time you set a boundary and then break it yourself, you teach others that your words do not carry weight. And once your words lose weight, your presence follows the same path. So the process begins with discipline, not dramatic changes, but controlled adjustments repeated consistently. You begin to pause before responding, not out of hesitation, but out of intention. You begin to speak with precision, removing the excess that dilutes your message. You stop explaining what does not require explanation. You allow silence to replace the urge to justify. And something important happens in that shift. People start to notice the difference, even if they cannot define it. The second shift is boundaries without performance. Most people try to enforce limits through words, long explanations, emotional reactions. But real boundaries are demonstrated, not announced. When you disengage from what does not align, without needing to argue, you communicate more than any explanation could. When you do not reward disrespect with attention, you remove the incentive for it to continue. When you maintain consistency in how you respond, people learn quickly where the limits are. Consistency is what transforms behavior into identity. Aristóteles wrote in Ética a Nicômaco, livro 2, que somos aquilo que repetidamente fazemos. This means your image is not defined by isolated moments, but by patterns that become predictable over time. If your new standards are applied only occasionally, they will not be taken seriously. But when they are applied without exception, they redefine how you are seen. The third shift is alignment between internal state and external expression. If you try to project strength without internal control, it becomes performance. And performance is eventually exposed. But when your behavior reflects a genuine internal discipline, it becomes natural, stable, and difficult to challenge. This is why everything you are building must come from awareness, not imitation. You are not copying traits. You are refining your own presence. And that takes time. But more importantly, it takes consistency. You will be tested, not because people are against you, but because they are used to your previous patterns. They will interrupt as they did before, expect the same reactions, push the same limits. And in those moments, you will have a choice. Return to what is familiar or reinforce what you are becoming. Every time you hold your standard, even in a small moment, you strengthen your position. Every time you fall back into old patterns, you delay the shift. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. Because the moment your behavior becomes consistent, your image stabilizes. And when your image stabilizes, people stop questioning how far they can go. They already know. And that is when respect stops being something uncertain and becomes something natural. But there is one final truth that must be understood. Because everything you have learned leads to a single realization that changes how you move through the world. The final warning. Respect is not something you ask for. The moment you ask for it, you have already placed yourself below it. Respect is something you establish, silently, through what you allow, what you ignore, and what you refuse to tolerate. Most people spend their lives trying to be liked, trying to be accepted, trying to avoid discomfort. And in that process, they slowly give away every element that creates authority. They become agreeable, predictable, easy to approach, easy to influence, and then they wonder why they are not taken seriously. The truth is direct. The world does not respond to your intentions. It responds to your standards. If your standards are unclear, your treatment will be inconsistent. If your standards are weak, your treatment will reflect that weakness. But if your standards are stable, controlled, and enforced through your behavior, the world adjusts. Not because you demanded it, but because you made it inevitable. There is no need to announce your value. There is no need to convince anyone of who you are. The moment you feel the need to prove, you have already stepped into a position of dependency, and dependency erases authority. Instead, you define your presence through discipline, through the way you carry yourself when no one is watching, through the way you respond when tested, through the way you manage your time, your attention, your energy, because everything communicates, every silence communicates, every reaction communicates, every decision communicates, and over time, those signals form something that cannot be ignored. They form an image that either invites disrespect or prevents it completely. Niccolo Machiavelli warned that men are quick to offend those who make themselves easy targets and cautious with those who create uncertainty around consequence. This is not about fear in its crude form. It is about awareness. Awareness that crossing a line will not go unnoticed and will not be without response. And once that awareness exists, behavior changes. So the question is no longer whether people will respect you. That question is already answered by the patterns you have created so far. The real question is what you are going to reinforce from this moment forward. Will you continue to explain what does not need explanation, tolerate what should be corrected, and react in ways that give others control over your state? Or will you begin to move differently, speak less, observe more, respond with intention, and establish boundaries that do not require constant defense? Because the moment you shift your behavior, even slightly but consistently, something begins to change. People hesitate before interrupting you. They measure their words more carefully. They adjust their tone without you asking. Not because they were told to, but because your presence demanded it. And once that shift happens, it cannot be undone. You stop chasing respect, and respect starts following you. Now the responsibility is entirely yours, not to prove who you are, but to decide what you will no longer allow. And from that decision, everything else will follow.